What's going on, everybody? It's Childish. We're back at it again with part 2 of our Monster Spotlight series, talking about the natural 4-star and under monsters that have unique passes that may or may not impact the meta when it comes to the Guild Siege battle defenses in the natural 4-star and under category. If you guys haven't seen the first episode, I'll go ahead and put it up there in the information circle on the right. So if you want to go ahead and check it out, that'll get you all set up. However, if you are just coming into this video for the first time, basically, guys, if you didn't notice, right, there's going to be a couple of bases in the Guild Siege battles, and one of those bases you will only be able to put units that are in the natural 4-star in the category. Because of this, you're going to be able to alleviate some of the unique monsters that people use all the time to basically be hard counters for particular compositions, and one of those monsters is the Saurian, the Fire Ifrit. The Fire Ifrit bringing one of the few monsters out there in the game today that can have that Oblivion that's going to be able to silence those passes that people bring. So because of that, people won't be able to use that. I believe that some of the natural 4-star and natural 3-star monsters with passes may actually be viable. So what we're going to do is basically talk about some of those monsters. Again, this is simply just brainstorming, theory crafting here. I don't think anyone's going to be one stronger than the other, like, oh my god, this is definitely going to work. But ultimately, because of the fact that those passes are going to be coming into play and you're going to have a reduced amount of active skills that you're going to be using, I feel like if you find the right monster and combine it with the right team, provide the synergy, you're going to be able to use in a little bit more of what you want with regards to the skills, the mechanics that you're trying to bring. I think it could be pretty unique. So let's go ahead and take a look at units here. With regards to Fire, part 1, I started with that one because that by far had the most potential game changers when it comes to the natural 4-star and under kind of like siege meta and whatnot. But with regards to Water, this should go relatively quickly as the majority of them are pretty lackluster. But either way, let's go ahead and look at them and just talk about it and see what happens here. Okay, first and foremost here, this one, Mr. Susanoo, one of the first units that I ever got seen leveled up, right? A couple of the old school influencers out there, the Water Ninja here. So if you guys haven't seen this one has the 2 skills that are going to be doing damage according to the max speed. This unit, this skill right here, decreasing the attack power for 50% with actually a really good damage multiplier. So 2 speed scaling skills, but of course we're looking at that passive Clear Water, reducing the odds of receiving a critical hit by 50% and increasing your resistance. So and of course it has a 30% speed lead. So in this particular situation, this is interesting because of the fact that it is it's a passive that provides that resistance and the critical reduction. So it's going to make it a little bit harder, not only for somebody to do a ton of damage because everybody's bringing monsters that are going to be built specking for critical damage, but more importantly, landing certain harmful effects to be able to take you out. Now let's not get it twisted. There are a couple of monsters that if you ruin a certain way, you can definitely wreck face. You can do a ton of damage despite the fact of not having a defense break. But if you possibly consider combining this with some kind of monster that would have some kind of shielding and whatnot, it's going to be a little bit hard to get that shielding. Also, it's going to be hard to again land a defense break in so that you can go ahead and bust on that shielding to go ahead and be able to take it out. So when I think about this monster, speed scaling monster, obviously Kamoon would be something that would be pretty unique to combine it there. And then of course, some kind of unit that you can pair with it that's going to provide maybe a defense break, give your units a target, for the Guild War defense. So I don't know. I don't, believe it or not, out of all the ones that I have seen thus far, out of the Water category, this one here, I feel like the passive could be pretty unique and probably provide a little viability. So we'll have to wait and see how it meshes up. But yeah, I think it's pretty interesting. Next one up on the monsters with the passive here is going to be the one that we've heard quite a bit on my channel, at least. That's going to be Chilling, the Water Jack-o'-lantern. Now, this is going to be a quick and easy one here. This is by far a unique monster, but not something that I would consider bringing in here. Of course, the passive, being able to steal the beneficial effects when you hit them, and the attack speed decreases according to the beneficial effects. Why will this not be viable? Because of the simple fact that we understand how the passive works. Therefore, your opponent is not going to be bringing compositions that heavily rely on beneficial effects. Why? Because they're going to be expecting this unit to do what it does. And furthermore, if you decide to bring beneficial effects and just try to see if you can get rid of it early on, there's a potential for this teammate to bring some revenge sets, and that can definitely sets you back, especially if you're taking on a monster that has those beneficial effects on trying to take it out. And then, of course, he strips now those amazing skills that basically allow him to either kill this quickly or be able to sustain and be able to stay alive a little bit longer. So chilling, great monster, but again, not viable for the Guild War defense. Obviously, it's a great monster for Guild War offense, so definitely use it as you get it. So next one up here. This is one that I haven't talked about in such a long time. Wow, Water Animus, Mr. Avaris here. So, if you guys haven't seen this one, we'll talk about it a little. We got a hit point to serve on the first skill. We got a branding on the second skill with the multi-hit, so a little bit easier to get. And then we have the third skill, the passive destroyer. When you kill an enemy, the enemy soul is destroyed and will be prevented from being resurrected. So, I'm not really too concerned about the resurrection part because there's not a lot of people bringing a ton of like revive based units at the natural 4-star and under category. But it is kind of cool that he will have a soul protection ability, and rightly so. He is an attack based monster. Crazy enough, from what I've kind of gathered, he actually has some pretty decent multipliers. And the cool thing about this is that both of these skills do damage when the enemy's HP is a little bit lower. So if you happen to create some kind of a comp that allows you to sync up two different monsters, having one go right before this one, do some damage, and have this and have Avaris follow through, obviously you're going to get a little bit more bang for your buck. If you've seen my one of my Guild War defenses, a lot of people use this one, running Kamoon, Theo, Iris, right? With that particular setup, I have Theo, with a couple of speed more than Kamoon. Why is that? Because if Theo puts a defense break on the fire or wind-based monster, I want Kamoon to follow through and basically do a ton of damage because Theo already brought him down to no end. So if you're able to get that, then you can do some damage. But either way, I don't see this one being really, really unique in Guild War defense again, unless you create some kind of a speed comp, maybe with some kind of Orion, Gemini, something that's gonna get you all set up to do some prime damage. But honestly, I think there's a couple of better options out there that people can use. But hey, we wanted to go ahead and look at all the passives and just kind of objectively take a look at the stats and the setup and see if the kids are good. So again, if you guys disagree with me on that, please put it in the comment section down below what kind of teams you think these units could be used in, if you think they would be viable or whatnot. Okay, next one up here, Water Lich, Mr. Regal. Regal here is one that, while I feel like he has a pretty unique kit here, I think he's too good for other aspects of the game to be using him in here. So when I think about him, it screams Necropolis B10, right? There's even a couple of Rift B stages that I would take advantage of his multi-hits, or just take advantage of his slow and defense break that he can provide in between those boss stages where the boss drops or whatnot. You want to get that defense break in. However, here's the deal: his passive, immunity against inability effects, which is okay, it's good, and then of course decrease the chance of receiving a critical hit by 25%. The reduction of the critical hit, I don't think it's enough. The inability effects is nice, but if you bring a unit like this that has an immunity to these kind of inability effects, I'm pretty sure that the opponent is not going to be creating a comp that's going to be providing that CC, right? There's a lot of comps that we use to try to one-shot things and whatnot, but when people have something that can basically be immune to CC, that they're obviously not going to be bringing a heavy CC competitive, so you're not going to get a lot of value out of this passive. You're kind of missing about 50% of it, right? You're only taking advantage of the critical hit, and the critical hit reduction is nice, but again, I don't think it's enough to make up for the lack of the other passive not being utilized to the full potential. That being said, this is generally built in Necropolis B10 with it being the second to slowest or the slowest monster going. So you already have them built for that. It's going to be relatively slow in speed, so I don't think you want to go that route. Generally, when you create those Guild War defense, you want to have a decent amount of speed, but more importantly, if you're creating a comp with a purpose, you're going to need to have a speed tune and synergize well. So the fact that this is going to be relatively slower than most of the monsters you're going to be bringing early on, I don't think it's going to be a good mix here. But next one up here, a unit that nobody is probably using right now, and if you're super end game or late game and you're watching this video, I don't know what you're doing, right? Because you're OP, you don't need to be watching this. But hey, for that world boss monster you built like many moons ago, here we go. Sea Underwater Joker here. For those that didn't know, his third skill is a passive, Revival Magic. So revives with invisibility and immunity for one turn at the moment of death with 25% HP. So when I think about this one, and hear me out before you guys are like, wait a second, you can't call this what it is, right? You already know what I'm going to say. It's an attack-based monster that can do damage, and then it has like a fail-safe, kind of a setup, passive where it cannot be, it can sure be one-shot aware, but it can't be like taken out, completely. And that reminds us of Theomars, right? So again, if you think about it, it kind of has that mechanic, like you cannot kill it outright. It has to, get the invincibility and stay alive, and so. Whether it's invincibility or endurance, kind of the same concept there. I guess a little bit of health, but again, the damage that Theo can bring, obviously, it's pretty strong. But believe it or not, Cyan could do some pretty decent damage. But that aspect of the defense break that Theo brings, it's just nice to have that overall kit. There's so many things about Theo that just makes it too hard to compare with Cyan, but again, it is a pretty unique monster. Do I feel like people are going to use it? Probably not. But when you guys look at the rest of the monsters that we're going to be talking about, you'll know why I kind of mentioned this like early on. There's a ton of water monsters in this category with passives, but the majority of them are pretty like, meh, yeah, it's not too good. So next one up here, the first one of the 3 stars, and I kind of put this at the top of the list because basically out of all the ones here, actually let me before I do that, let's give credit to where credit's due. Somebody's going to be using Rena, right? Like what's going to happen. We don't even need to get into Rena with this just stally kind of passive. People are going to try to avoid it. Maybe that's going to be enough for people to like not take out the sieges, right? Because I think they're going to be setting up 5 defenses, 5 decks within those bases, and you have to kill them all in order to take that base. So if you're in a bad situation where you don't have anything to kind of counter Rena, then yeah, that's going to be a pain to take out, and you're going to have somebody to be able to do that. Maybe somebody that's creating the comp or doing that won't be able to utilize that offensive comp in something else. So yeah, she's kind of the #1 spot when it comes to passes on a 3-star category. But the next one I want to talk about is definitely something that you're going to be like, what is going on? What are you talking about this one? Alan, the Water Vagabond here. So again, we're simply talking about all of them. We're not saying that this is like the top unit of water. This just brainstorm here with me for a little bit, okay? Brainstorm. So, Water Vagabond, that 2-star random unit that you get the Unknown Scrolls and Magic Shop, like it's seen some good days as of late. It had a recent change here on the second skill, making all the second skills of the Vagabonds doing damage according to max HP. So 2 skills with the damage based on max HP, and of course this one having that passive when your HP is under 30%, the damage you receive is reduced by 50%. So this is one of those things where I don't know how I feel about it. I think I wish Comtos make this like a little bit on the higher end. It might be a little bit too OP, similar to like the Golems. I think the Golems have the 40% fail safe. When it gets under 40%, there's a reduction here, but the reduction on Alan, even though it's a lower fail safe, the amount that is reduced is a little bit greater. Again, though, when we're thinking about a HP monster like this, we're probably going to get it in the vicinity of like 30k or whatnot. So when it gets within 10k, it has a damage reduction. But even that much, when you think about the way that people build the monsters, even with the 50% reduction, they should be able to take out that last 30k, or even if it's a 40k monster, and we're talking about whatever 30%, sitting at that 12 to 15k, like it's still going to be, they're still going to have an opportunity to do some damage here. So but again, if you pair it, with some kind of unit that can provide that shield, a la Kamoon or the Wind Mermaid or something like that, then you might be able to get a little bit more bang for your buck out of that shield because of the passive having the reduced damage that it will take. If that shield is pretty strong, that's really going to make this one for a unique tech, which is why I mentioned it. I think it could be pretty unique. And we can't, obviously the Tawny Strike, it's not going to be as good as the other counterparts of the Vagabonds having the attack break on there or whatever, but Tawny Strike is definitely something that shouldn't be underestimated. Being able to taunt somebody takes them away from their main skills, which is what you're trying to use in the battle. So interesting unit there. I don't know if I'm going to build this one. Funny enough, I think the Wind counterpart actually looks a little bit more promising, but we'll get into that in a different video here. Next one that we got going on is Tractor, the Water Frankenstein. This is going to be super quick, simply for the fact that I feel like it's a great offensive monster, but not so much on the defensive monster. So let me see if I can find him here. There he is. I know I have him. So it's passive. Immune to defense decrease in effects. Your attack bar is filled up each time by 30% each time you get hit by a critical hit. So really, really nice. But again, his main skill, stun, it's a stun machine. It's great. But this taunt, very, very underwhelming. Not even worth your time. And of course, considering that we got two types of CC type of units, I think anybody that would be coming at this would be bringing some kind of immunity so they didn't have to deal with it. So he's very, very counterable. I don't think he's viable at all. A great monster for Guild War offense, not so much on the defensive side. Moving along here, Nickel. I know you guys are like, Nickel, what? Who is this monster? The Living Armor, Water Living Armor. This is one that people played around with back in the day, creating funny comps, and in DB10, they would take 4 of these units here and bring some other kind of like, healer, like a Tulk or something like that, the Water Mammoth, and bring it on board because they're immune to continuous damage and puts the attack speed for 2 turns with a 50% chance when this is attacked. So, again, this is another one of those situations where similar to the I forget which passive it is now, but basically one of the passives that was enabled to be able to take advantage of. We're losing about 50% of the value here. Nobody cares about continuous damage when it comes to PvP. The attack speed decrease is great, but again, it's just not enough to be viable in here. Again, I love the first skills and the second skills on these particular monsters. Here you got the AoE defense break, you got the stun mechanic, you got the attack speed mechanic, so it's really unique, but again, not viable at all. We're just going to go ahead and give it a little shout out here. Now, Kuhn, the water golem, this one here is similar to Alan when it's produces the incoming damage when it falls below 50%. So this one here, the barrier, I like this passive. I like this passive a lot because the failsafe on this is a lot more higher, and I feel like people can get a little more value out of it. And keep in mind, we're talking about reducing the incoming damage on a defense scaling unit, right? And a defense scaling unit, mind you, that has 2 types of CC. You got the stun, the provoke on one, and then you got the freeze on here. Of course, it's not a 100% freeze. I believe it does go up a little bit when you skill it out, but still, 2 CCs with the damage reduction, which is pretty unique. I think that, like, honestly, like, if I get super bored, I may in fact build this one and pair it with some kind of a shield, base monster, or even bring, try to bring like a vampire set on here. That's one of the things that I don't think is utilized all too much, is for some of you guys that have been holding on to those defense-based vampire runes that you have. I feel like defense scaling monsters with the vampire set is pretty strong, could be viable, but again, you need passives like this to make it worth your time, right? If you're reducing the damage that you're doing, but you're still putting down some good numbers, it's going to be super hard to be able to take them out, especially for the fact of this guy having the 50% reduction, or sorry, 50% under threshold. And again, if you pair it with some kind of immunity or whatnot here, it's going to be very, very hard to defense break this unit so that you can take it out a little bit easier. So again, he's kind of up there in the Allen, kind of like, it makes me think about it a little bit. I'm curious to see if anybody gets around to that, but yeah, that should have been a little bit higher up there now that I think about it. Not even going to try to waste your time here for all those people out there that built this one way back in the day for grinding. I mean, some people actually did this. Again, Spirit's Will, 30% revives at 30% HP, and it's obviously it's just a kind of a failsafe similar to Theomars and Sion. So again, obviously we're not going to be using this on Guild War defense, but hey, it has a passive, so we gotta mention it. All right, let's get out of here. Here we go. Garuda, or not Garuda, but Garuda the water bellman. So this one here, his passive, just the straight 25% reduction on the damage, which of course 25% reduction is not too shabby. Kind of reminds you of the Wind Monkey King, 20% damage mitigation, right? And then you got the stun, or I'm sorry, you got the provoke, and then you got the damage based on max HP. This can't be viable simply for the fact that if you're building this HP based monster, you're not going to get a lot of value that you would have from like Alan. Alan have 2 skills based on max HP, and one of them has that CC mechanic similar to the provoke. This one here, this first skill, you're not going to do any damage at all. This one, yes, you will, but again, this is going to be the main skill that you're going to be using, so it's gonna sink because you can't, you just can't put out the numbers that you need to. So again, not viable. But you guys already knew that. Come on now, here we go. Next one up, Miss Mina, the Water Marshal Cat here. The passive increases the chances of attacking with a 50% with a critical hit by 50% chance that the enemy has no harmful effects. which is kind of weird considering that, you know, we're always bringing compositions that provide a lot of harmful effects. Furthermore, the ones that will, you know, essentially allow you to take the opponent out relatively quickly, right? The defense breaks, the brandings and whatnot. So again, obviously this is not viable. This is more of an attacker-based unit. I still wouldn't build it, despite the fact that it actually has some unique stats. I don't know if you guys saw that there, but 119 base speed there. I think it's an awakening amount. Yeah, it gets awakened to that 119 there. So, you know, cool unit. But again, if this was something that was something that people can use and get a lot of value out of, I think we would have built it a long time ago. Attack bar reduction on the second one, and then a stun mechanic on the first. So yeah, pretty unique, but again, definitely not defense material. We've already talked about Rena here, so the next one's going to be Kernodon. That's the water lizard man. Another one of the monsters to go. Again, not a good defense monster because this one has the inflicted damage reduction for the wind-based units. Yes, generally speaking, that would make sense because, hey, if you're a water-based monster, people are going to be bringing wind-based monsters to go ahead and take it out. But again, because of the fact that he's defensive scaling and he doesn't have any kind of, like, you know, raw immunity or whatever, unless you're bringing something in your comp, once this defense break is in, he doesn't do anything, despite the fact that he does, you know, some unique continuous damage or whatnot. Again, continuous damage for both turns. I think this is more of like a PvE monster with the continuous damage options. But again, yeah, stay away from it. Don't build it. Not going to be good. Mr. Gang Chun here, the Water Beast Hunter. Again, we can stay away from this all day. Critical rate and the improved glancing is definitely not enough to get the job done here. This is one of those monsters that got put into the game and you're just like, really? Yeah, really? Like, obviously, it's fun, it's exciting, but it's not anything that you're going to use for guild siege battles. Way better units to use on that, okay? Second to last one that we got is Aqueous, the water shark here. Now this one, again, this is one of those ones that got coined as like a 6-star fodder farmer because of the fact that his passive, you know, has the continuous damage, and then the target dies, you will heal for the amount of damage you do. So it makes it a viable option to farm, you know, your fodder, you know, when you're trying to do it. But again, has nothing to do with, you know, Guild War defense here. I mean, the opportunity to kill a monster at the perfectly right time, you know, having everything like perfectly work out, it's just not going to happen. But it does have a passive, so we wanted to go ahead and mention it. Now, this is one that kind of goes up there with Alan and what was it? Alan and Rena here. If there was certain 3-star monsters that I would mess around with, this may be one that I actually would consider, but I'm really going out of left field here. Let's just take a look at it here. Okay, Water Mummy. Nubia. HP scaling monster with a unique passive. A 35% chance to freeze for 1 turn. And mind you, that's not a 35% chance to freeze an enemy 1 turn with a 50% chance to activate. No, that's a straight 100%. Well, let me take that back. It's a 35% chance to activate, but you know how certain skills are like, hey, it'll freeze the enemy for 1 turn with a 50% chance. This one here, it's a straight passive for 35, is a little bit lower, but it goes for all skills. One of those skills being an AoE HP Disturb. And then, of course, we have this one here that's going to hit 2 times. So, again, each opportunity, or I think it's just one opportunity, excuse me, to go ahead and get that freeze as well. So, continuous damage, meh, you know, I know. But this is one of those monsters where if you did have some random violent, you know, runes, you know, laying around, you know, that's a lot of opportunities to freeze. If you really wanted to play around with the Despair set, that's another 25% chance you can tack on to that. So I think this one here with the built-in CC mechanic, if you have some kind of comp that's just trying to be annoying, the fact of the matter is he provides that CC and he's going to be providing some damage simply for the fact that both of his skills are based on max HP. So he's going to be a nice bruiser to mess around with. Again, I'm talking about these monsters like they're going to be like the next biggest and best thing, but let's not get too out of our element here. I just like the kit, and I want to use these videos to go ahead and kind of open your minds and say, hey, you know what? This may be something I want to mess around with, maybe even not on the defensive side, but on the offensive side. You never know. So that is the last one when it comes to the water-based passives. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Again, This particular element is not the one that really got me excited. The first one that we got excited about was the fire one. So if you haven't seen that video, definitely tune into that. A lot of great monsters in there. But either way, we had some unique monsters here. Some no-namers, some big-time namers, and some of them that just kind of got overlooked. But it's like, hey, they're there. Let's go ahead and take a look at it. But either way, let me know in the comment section down below which ones look interesting to you. Which ones do you think you would build? Or let me know that this series sucks and you just never want to see it again. Okay, I'm looking forward to hearing all your feedback, both positive and negative. Until next time, guys, take care and we'll see you.